Hi, Mason and Madeline. I love you.
I've seen him.
You what? Oh, yours? I wasn't gonna put yours down. Oh, I've got it on my phone too. You texted it to me.
I'll just like. There you go. Give me a little space there.
It's weird that everyone's on one side.
I kind of feel honored.
All right. Hi, everyone.
I feel honored.
We're gonna start on page 8 with Hine Matzot. Hine Matzot umanayim sheberach yam. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hey, Matzot, umanayim sheberach gam yachad. Hey, Matzot, umanayim sheberach gam yachad. Welcome, everyone. Glad to see you. We're on page 12. Hi. We're on page 12 for Yedid Nefesh. I think the temp boys are going to be bringing tables down at some point during services tonight. So if there's lots of crashing, the tables are pretty heavy. So Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Mishoch Avtecha El Ritzonecha Yarutz Avtecha Kemo Ayal Yishtachavel Mu Hadarecha Te'erav Lo Yedidutecha Minofetzu Bechol Tam Yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 We continue with Kabbalat Shabbat as we turn to page 22 for the Chunaranana. Lechuneranina, 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 ladonai. Lechuneranina, 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 ladonai. La ria, litzur yishenu, nikama fanav betodah. Na ria, litzur yishenu, bizmirot na ria lo. Lechuneranina, 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 ladonai. Lechuneranina, 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 ladonai. We're now 3 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew. Arba'im shana akupidor, v'omaram toeh levav heim, v'heim lo da'du derachai. Asher nishbati v'api imivo'uhun el menuchati. So on the page 24, Bashiru Ladonai. I practiced. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Baruch Shemo Basru Miyom Liyom Yeshuato Sapru Vagoyim Kevodo Bechol Ha'amim Nifleotav Ki Gadol Adonai Hulal Mehod Norahu Al Kol Elohim Yadidai Ki Kol Elohe Ha'amim Elivim Va'adonai Shamayim Asa Hod V'Hadar Lefanav Oz V'Tiferet B'Mikdasho Havu Ladonai Mishpachot Amim Havu Ladonai Kahavod Va'oz Havu Ladonai Kevod Shemo Se'u Mincha Uvohu Lechatrotav Aydai Ishtachavu Ladonai Behadrat Kodesh Chilu Mipinav Kol Ha'aret Umru Vagoyim Adonai Malach Aftikot Tevel Baltimot Yadina Mim B'Mesharim Yismechu Hashamayim B'Tegel Ha'aret Yiram Hayam Uhum Lo Ya'alo Sadai B'chol Asher Bo Azirananu Kol Atzei Ya'ar Aydai Lifnei Adonai Kiva Lishpot Lishpoteva Be'amim Be'emunato. I practiced. I didn't get it wrong this time. Please now turn. No, Daniel's not even here. Daniel's not even here to enjoy it. You have to have the flu. He's here in spirit. Honestly, he probably is here in spirit.
He's not here.
I know. It occurred to me earlier. I hadn't seen him in a few days, and it's because he's, what did you call him?
Small Victorian.
A small Victorian child. Turn now to page 34 for Mizmor David. Mizmor David. Havu Adonai b'nei Elim. Havu Adonai kavod va'oz. Havu Adonai kivod shemo. Ishtachavu Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol hamayim el hakavod hirim. Adonai almayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach. Kol Adonai be'atar. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vaishaber Adonai et arsei havanon. Vayakidem kemo egel Levanon v'Sirion kemo ven reimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavot eish. Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kol Adonai yechol el ayalot. Vayachasuf yarod uvheichalo kulo meher kavod. Adonai lamabul yashavaye Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. We'll turn to page 38 for the Chadodi. Right? Or do we do each other also?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to do the first three verses, then the first verse on page 40, and then the last verse on page 40. Yeah. Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela
Shavur v'zachor v'nivorecha V'shmiya v'racham yuchad Adonai echad yishmorecha Hashem tzivurech v'lihilah lecha Adonai
Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela. Third verse. Melech Melucha Mitzei Mitocha Hafecha Ravlach Shevet B'Mekavacha V'hu Yachbor Ma'ichem L'cha Dodi Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela. Top of page 40, first verse. Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela. Everyone please rise and face the rear of the room as we welcome the Shabbat bride.
Shalom ated ba'ala Gam l'simcha u'svachala Tov emunei am segula Bu'ichala Echad Odi
Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela Mikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Ekavela. All right, please be seated. Go to my parents. All right. Tell my kids I say hi. We're on page 44. That was my cousin Noah. Hi, Noah.
Hi, Noah.
We also know Noah.
You also know Noah? Well, he's my first cousin. Our dads are brothers. Page 44 for sort of the ending of Kabbalat Shabbat before moving to the Mariv part of the service. You can follow along in English or in Hebrew, whatever you want. Adonai Malach Yut Lavesh. Lavesh Adonai Oz Hitazar. Af Tikun Tevel Baltimu. Nachon Kisach HaMeaz Be'olam Atah. Nasun Harot Adonai. Nasun Harot Kolam. Yisun Harot Dachyam. Mikolot Mayim Rabim. Adirin Mishperei Yam. Adir B'Marom Adonai. Erotecha Ne'em Ne'meod. Levatecha Le'va Kodesh Adonai La'orech Yamim. And with that, we'll move now into the Ma'ariv service, which begins on page 50 with Baruch Hu. Would you all please rise? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yellow light, 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 yellow light, 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 yellow light, light, light. Yellow light, 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 yellow light, 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 yellow light, 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 yellow light, light. Top of page 50. Baruch Very well, please be seated. We'll continue on page 50. The first blessing before the Shema. You can follow along in the transliteration on the bottom of page 50 or in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. B'chuchma patech sha'arim v'fredem mashane itif machalif et hazmanim. Umsader et hakochavim. B'misperotehem barkei kirtzonu. B'reyom v'layla goler or v'pnei hoshech b'choshech b'pnei or. V'aver yom v'mevi layla v'mavdil ben yom v'ben layla. Adonai tzvot shemo. Al-chai v'kayam tamid yimloch alin le'elam v'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Ma'ariv Aravim. Page 52 for Avat Olam. Avat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shachveinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'b'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayeinu Ve'orech yameinu Ubahem nege yomam v'layla Ve'avatcha al tasir v'imenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. And now we're on page 54 for the Shema. If everyone will please rise. We'll read the Shema and V'Hafta in Hebrew and then again in English on page 55. We'll start on 54. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Silently. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha Uvlechtecha b'derech, uvshoftecha uvkunecha, uvshartam le'ot hayadecha, v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha, uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. And together in English on page 55. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Praised be God's glorious sovereignty forever and ever. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. You shall take to heart these words which I command you this day. You shall teach them diligently to your children, speaking of them when you are at home and when you are away, when you lie down at night and when you rise up in the morning. You shall bind them as a sign upon your arm, and they shall be a reminder above your eyes. You shall inscribe them on the doorposts of your homes and on your gates. All right, please be seated. We'll turn to page 60 for Michamocha. It was like you.
Who is like you? I don't know.
Who is like you?
I don't know. Like you, I don't know who is like you. I don't know.
And now to page 64. We'll turn to for Vishamra. Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Eta Shabbat Asot Eta Shabbat Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Eta Shabbat Asot Eta Shabbat B'nei Yisrael, B'nei Yisrael, Oti Le'olam, Vishamru B'nei Yisrael, Eta Shabbat, Asot Eta Shabbat, Ki Sheshet Yamim Asa Adonai Et HaShamayim Ve'et Ha'aretz Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat La'asot Et HaShabbat Le'olam Beritot Ubayom Hashvi Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et Shabbat La'asot Et HaShabbat Le'olam Beritot. Before we move into Amida, I'd like to talk a little bit about this week's Torah portion. I'm going to go ahead and turn my phone upside down because my fantasy football group text, which Noah is a part of, because someone said something ridiculous. It's all my cousins and brothers. Jacob is in it, yes. I haven't read what they said, but I'm sure I can't repeat it from the beam. So, all right. My friends, there's a very common expression among parents: the days are long, but the years are short. It's meant, I think, to be said and to comfort new parents who are sort of struggling through the first few months and the first few years of having young children. For example, earlier this week, my daughter cried in the middle of the night because she didn't have her pacifier, because she had stood up or at least thrown it out of her crib on purpose and demanded that at 3:14 in the morning, I retrieve it for her. I don't know how helpful this expression is to parents. Let's be honest, there's nothing that can really help parents going through the newborn phase, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true. And so as I was preparing to talk tonight about Parshat Va'era, I thought a lot about the idea of time. Now, this is a great Torah portion, by the way. It is the first 7 plagues. I guess it's not great for the Egyptians. It's great for other people. It's not great for the Egyptians. There's a lot of really deep and meaty stuff. We had a good conversation earlier today. But I wanted to talk about time. And especially how in the Torah, we see that events and time and the distance, the temporal distance, seems to contract and dilate depending on what the narrative is. As an example, in Genesis, we read that in just 2 sentences, that after Noah gets off the ark, he plants a vineyard and gets drunk. And for anyone who has ever planted anything successfully, which is not me, you know that if there's a long period of time between planting the vineyard and being able to get drunk. But honestly, that growing phase is not all that important. We don't need to see any of it. Maybe if this were a movie, we'd have a montage of growing scenes and scenes of Noah and his sons picking the grapes, maybe set to some upbeat 80s song. But in the Torah, nothing. The same thing happened last week. We went from reading about the people who came with Joseph into Egypt, right at the very end of the book of Bereshit, to learning that a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. We know that centuries have passed in between these 2 books of the Torah, but it's not made explicitly clear. I think that there are some lessons that we can draw from this. I will say that I do sometimes get in trouble with my family for referencing the Grateful Dead too often in my sermons. I don't think you can reference the Grateful Dead too often, but we'll ask my family about that. But a while ago, I spoke about a song, a late period Grateful Dead song called The Days Between, in which the singer emphasizes that there are important days, and then there's the days between, which sort of all blends together. This is, I think, important for all of us, because let's be real, most of our lives are spent in these days between. Most days, nothing particularly notable happens, especially if you're telling the story of your life. We wake up, we eat, we go to class, we probably ignore some things we have to do, and we go to sleep. Nothing's wrong with this. Most days are like this. Every night before I go to sleep, I as part of my process, I think of something good that happened with each of my family members, my wife and my son and my daughter. And at that time, they're important in that day, but really, I can't remember what I was thinking about yesterday or Wednesday or earlier this week. There's days between. And in some ways, this is what the Torah is doing. The descent from being sort of honored guests of the Egyptians to being slaves happened over centuries, not days. And so it would be impossible and not helpful to recount every single episode to every single Israelite that happened in that intervening time. We don't need to read every awful thing that happened to know exactly what happened. I don't think this is really the element of our lives in which we kind of block out some things that happen. I vividly remember loving high school. I'm not sure that anybody else here loved high school, but I loved it. I had great friends. I had fun. But that probably means that I'm not remembering essays and tests. And I had physical books and a locker and all of these things that were probably at the time not all that much fun. Time is really a funny thing. We deeply and fully feel successes and stresses every day, every week. Our interactions with each other leave impressions on us. And how often have you felt compelled to tell one of your friends that, man, this weird thing happened to me, this cashier at Target was kind of odd. But then if someone asked you the next week what it was, you probably couldn't remember. It was important at that time. If you were really going to tell the story of your life, any of your lives, would that interaction with the Target cashier make it? Probably not. And the same is true for the Torah. Obviously, for the Israelites, those events, the suffering of slavery was important. The years between Bereshit and Shemot were profound. But for us to understand our heritage, which is what the Torah is for, it's okay to fast forward. We can skip the days between Joseph's arrival and Moses' departure. We're all made up of what happens in these intervening days. We pile these hours and these days and these weeks on top of each other, one insignificant event after another, until we look back and we can see in our rearview mirror the entire story of our lives. And I suppose before I wrap up and we move into the Amida, that I think we're all thinking deeply about this idea of time. I know that I certainly was. It's easy to be numb to the days and weeks and years now that hostages have been in Gaza. But last week on Sunday, and I spoke about this a little bit last Friday, but I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to talk about what was going to happen too deeply. We saw 3 women. We saw Romy, Emily, and Daron reunited with their family at Sheba Medical Center. And you have to think that that's a moment that would be written down. That moment of the curtain opening and the reunion. And I think that as we have another weekend and another presumably release of 4 women on Sunday, maybe we have more events like that we as a people can celebrate together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We'll turn now to page 66 for Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ba'alma divrachirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayetecho beit Yisrael ba'gala uv'izmahan kahariv v'yamaru Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olam Me'amaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbar V'yitrumam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalah Shemei Dekudesha Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata dahamiran b'alma v'yemeru. Amen. All right, we'll turn now to page 69 for the Amida. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Oh, please rise. Elohei Avoteinu ve'imoteinu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemaho B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Ataraf L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid Haga Hashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim. Umatir Asurim. Umekayem Emunato. Vishenei Afar. Michamocha Baal Kevurot. Umido Melach. Melech Menit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'amar atah l'chayot v'iti Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMeitim. We will continue silently. When you are done and there is no rush, please be seated. We're on page 74, the bottom of 70, sort of in the middle, I guess, for Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tzasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tzasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech hador, Echo Hashalom. Ki atahu melech hador, Echo Hashalom. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tzasim Le'olam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tzasim Le'olam. We'll now sing together Misha Berach, which is not in the Siddur. You just have to know it in your hearts as we think about anybody in our lives who needs healing, physical or spiritual. Continue to think of Rabbi Spector from Mokev, and of course Ben Hardcastle as well. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha
May the source of shame, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us sing Amen. Misha Berach Imoteinu Mikor HaBracha
the renewal of spirits, and let us sing Amen. Well, we are overjoyed at the return of the women on Sunday and presumably on 4 additional women on 2 days from now. We still keep in our hearts those who are in bondage, who are hostages. So Jordan will sing for us Achenu, which is a prayer for Jews held in captivity.
Achenu kol bet Yisrael, Achenu kol bet Yisrael, Hanatuni mitzara, mitzara ubashivya, Ha'omdim ben bayam uven bayabasha. Amako Yerachem, Yerachem Aleichem Yotzia Yitzara Lirbacha Mefila Liora Misheba Legedula Chasha Adala Ubizman Kari.
Thank you, Jordan. We'll now turn to page 118 for Aleinu. And please rise. It was actually on my sheet. I just didn't read it all the way. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol la'tet gedula lioseh breshit shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot Velo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem begor aleinu kechol hamunam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamachim hakadosh baruch hu Shehu noteh shamayim ve'yoser haaretz u'moshav mikaro b'shamayim mima'al u'shchinatu zo v'gavei meromim u'Eloheinu emet malkeinu refez zulato ka'katuv v'torato V'yadata hayom v'hashevota elevalecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim v'imal v'yo ha'aretz mitzachat einod. Turn the page, middle of page 120. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Everyone will please remain standing on page 124 as we recite together the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgeral v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayei zechol Beit Yisrael v'agala u'bizman kariv v'yamru Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei V'yet hadar, v'yet alev, v'yet halal, shmei l'kudusha. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiram b'yama v'yamru. Yehei shlam araba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru. Oseh shalom b'mramav, v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen. Please be seated. All right, announcements. Tomorrow there's Havdalah at 7 o'clock. You'll meet here. There'll be s'mores? You're not on the board. Look, there's s'mores.
Likely.
Probably. Monday is Holocaust Remembrance Day, so let's keep that in our minds. On Tuesday, there's Israeli treat tabling from 11 to 12:30 on Memory Mall. Wednesday night, Charlotte Korchak, who is with Stan with us for a long time and is now off on her own, is going to be speaking here at 6:30. You will need a student ID to get in, but it's open to everyone. She is great. She's going to talk about Israel and Israel on campus and things like that. Birthright tabling is from 11 to 1 on Thursday at the Union. Please sign up for Birthright if you would like to. If you have questions, talk to Sam. He's not here right now, but talk to him on Monday. On Friday at 11 a.m., we'll have a Torah study about Parashat Bo, talk about the death of the firstborn. It's also my brother's Torah portion from his bar mitzvah from 23 years ago, so that's cool. 24 years ago. My younger brother, so that's he's not the youngest, no. We already passed this. This was in November. And then next week, Shabbat's at 6:30. We will end tonight with the hope. So I have to make sure I actually still had it in here. It's call and response. If you don't know it, follow along with what Jordan is singing.
Please. This is the hope.
This is the hope.
The hope is still real.
The hope is still real.
A Jewish home.
A Jewish home.
In Israel.
In Israel.
This is the time.
This is the time.
We stand as one.
We stand as one.
If not now, when?
If not now, when?
We must be strong. Our hearts turn to the east. Yeah, this is the hope that holds us together. God be found. The hope will last forever. This is the hope that holds us together. God be found. The hope is still real. This is the hope. 2,000 years.
2,000 years.
We pray for freedom.
We pray for freedom.
Through pain and tears.
Through pain and tears.
This is our faith.
This is our faith.
This is our voice.
This is our voice.
This is our promise.
This is our promise.
This is our choice. Our hearts turn to the east. Yeah, this is the hope that holds us together. I think the hope will last forever. This is the hope that holds us together. I think the hope is still. The hope is still. Our hope is real. The hope is real. Our hope is real. This is the hope that holds us together. The hope will last forever. This is the hope that holds us together. The hope is still. This is the hope that holds us together. The hope will last forever. This is the hope that holds us together. The hope is still.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join us for dinner. Please stack your Sidurim on the back, kind of where you got them. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. I'll give this back to you. Thank you. Do you want this back?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Madeline and Mason.
in Nigeria.